Good morning, guys. Am I audible to all of you?
Morning, sir.
Good morning, yes.
Okay. Okay. So far we have discussed four generic collections like list. We have discussed a dictionary, and we have discussed stack and queue. Today we are going to cover three or four collection classes, right? And these are going to be the operation wise. They are going to be same, but the functionality wise they are going to be different, right? So far we have discussed the list collection class, right? Can anybody tell me what is this list collection class? If I'm creating a list of T, then what is this is all about? So it's a generic collection, right? It can store the element what you defined by using this type parameter, right? Suppose I'm creating int. What it means? It means it can store only integer numbers. The size is also going to grow automatically whenever we add new elements, right? But in this case, data is on order, right? Data is on order means it will not sort the data by default, right? In the order in which you are adding the elements, in the same order the data is also going to be stored, right? In this case, it allows duplicates. It allows duplicate elements, right? For example, if you take this as a list of a string, right? If you take this list of a string, right? In this case, you can see integer USA, UK, Bangladesh, Australia, UK, India, right? UK, you can see one element is here. You can see the same UK element, India element is here, and I'm adding the duplicate elements, right? In this case, if I'm adding the duplicate elements, right, first they are also acceptable, right? Now, if I run the application, then you can see here 5 elements and here 2 elements. So total, how many elements is going to be contained in the collection?
7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And the second thing you can see the sequence, right? It's an unordered list. Unordered list in the sense it will not sort the data either in ascending or descending order by default, right? We are having the sort functionality, sort method, right? That is a separate story altogether, right? That right. But in this case, the in the order in which you are adding the elements are going to be added in the same order. So the first point that you need to remember is data is on order, allows duplicate elements. Clear? This is what we have discussed so far. Today we are going to discuss one collection called HashSet. Right? Suppose I'm declaring some HashSet of T. So in this case, also data is on order, right? The data you can store in the order in which you are storing the data. In the same order, it is going to store the data. But in this case, not allowing duplicate elements, right? Say in this case, you can see list means it is on order, which allows a duplicate element. Has set means it is similar to list, right? In the sense what in the order in which you are adding the elements, in the same order the elements are going to be added into the collection, but it is not allowing duplicate elements. Clear? It is not allowed. So instead of a list, if I'm going with has set, right? Instead of list, if I'm going with has set, you can see how many duplicate elements are there? 2 elements, UK and India. Now, if you see when I run the application, you will not see these duplicate elements. Right? Duplicate elements simply ignored by the collection. Before adding the element, it will check whether this element is already added in the collection or not. If it is already added, then it is simply ignore. It simply remove that element. It will not allow any duplicate elements into the collection. But the order is going to be same. In the order in which the elements are added, you will get the output in the same order. You can see India, USA, UK, then Bangladesh, then Australia. India, USA, UK, Bangladesh, then Australia, right? So this is going to be your HashSet, right? You understand what is the difference between a list and a HashSet?
Yes.
Right. Another option is there, sorted set, right? Data is order, data is sorted. Data is sorted in ascending order and it will not allow duplicate element. So in this case, you can see instead of a hard set, I can go with a sorted set. And if I am going with sorted set, then you can see it is not only removing the duplicate element, but also it is storing the data in the sorted order. Australia, Bangladesh, India, UK, and USA. Clear? Guys?
Yes.
Yes.
So suppose someone asks you what is the difference between list, hash set, and the sorted set. Both are going to, all these are going to store the data, right? I mean what? I mean they are going to store the same type of a data. But what is the difference mean? In this case, data is on order, and in this case, data is going to be stored in sorted order. And in this case, it is allowing duplicate elements. And in these two cases, the data is not going to be duplicate, right? Duplicate element is not allowed. So now based on your requirement, whether you will decide, right? Now based on your requirement, you need to decide which one you need to use, whether you need to go with a list, whether you need to go with the sorted set, or whether you need to go with the hard set as per your business requirement, right? And now based on these three things, you can decide what you need to use. Because why I'm saying this thing, because people are randomly using a list of it, because right, they do not know that there is something called hard set and sorted set as well, right? Suppose you are getting some data, right, and you are going to add the element into the hard set, right? Suppose you are implementing one shopping cart kind of application, right? In the shopping cart kind of application, it means what? Now, suppose you added one item into the cart, right? And if again you are going to add the same item into the cart, right? And in that case, if you are going with the list, then in the cart you can see the same item twice, which should not be the case. Then in that case, you need to go with the hard set or in the or sorted set, right? If you want to store the data in the sorted order alphabetically, then you can go with the sorted rate if that is the requirement of the company. And if you want to sort the data in the order in which the items are added in the cart, then you need to go with the hard set. Understand, guys?
Yes.
Right? So it completely depend on your business requirement. You need to choose which one you need to use, right? It should not be the case. If I'm adding one product to two times, then two items, I mean the same item showing twice. It should not be the case, right? Yes, sometimes there should be the option to increase and decrease the number of quantities. That is a different story altogether. But it should not be shown the same item twice in my cart. It should be shown once with the quantity 213, whatever it may be, right? So based on your requirement, you need to decide which collection you need to use. We have already discussed this one. Now we are going to keep focus on this one, right? And while I'm going to discuss this one, I will show you the example using this one also, right? But I'm not going to discuss this thing in detail, right? I'm going to provide the documentation for this one, and the same documentation is also applicable to this sorted set. Only difference is that here data is on order and here data is sorted in ascending order. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So let us start a discussion using HashSet. What is HashSet? The HashSet collection class can be used to store, remove, and view elements like other collections. Like in other collection, we can add element, we can remove element, we can search for element, right? We can iterate the, we can access the element using loop. The same concept is also available to this HashSet collection class, right? It is an unordered collection of a unique element. This is the important point that you need to remember, right? In this case, the data is going to be unordered, but the data is going to be unique. The HashSet collection was introduced in .NET Framework 3.5. Initially, the collection framework, initially the generic collection framework introduced in C# 2.0, but this HashSet is a newer version of a generic framework, right? New class you can consider, which was introduced in 3.5. It does not allow for the addition of a duplicate elements, right? So it will not allow you to add duplicate elements. So it is recommended to use the HashSet collection if you want to store only unique element. And this collection class, as it's a generic type, so it belongs to the system.collections.generic namespace, right? Now, if I will, this is the definition of HashSet. And if I will ask you what is a sorted set, then what you need to say? Now it is a ordered collection of unique element. HashSet unordered and a sorted set means it's a ordered, right? This is the only difference between a HashSet and a sorted set. The rest of all, everything is going to be same. Clear? Yes. Cleared or not?
Yes, sir.
Right? So HashSet means it is on order and a sorted set means it is order. Right now let us see how to create a generic HashSet and how to add elements to the generic HashSet and how to access the elements and what are the different ways to access the element of a generic HashSet. Let us discuss. First of all, you need to bring the namespace, that is system.collection.generic, into your application. Why? Because this class HashSet belongs to this namespace, right? Once you bring the namespace, then as it's a class, right? It's not a static class, it's a non-static class. In order to use the method, right, in order to do operations on the HashSet collection, first of all you need to create an instance of a HashSet, right? And it's a generic type. So while creating the instance, you need to specify the type parameter. What type of data or what type of elements you want to store, that you need to specify using the type parameter, right? Then how to add element means this class provides the add method, right? Right, add method means what? Now if you want to add any element to the collection, any element in the sense, here a T type of element. Of what is T? And that is you have to define here, right? What type you have defined, that type of element you can add into the collection by using the add method, right? And in this case, it returns true if the element is added and false if the element is already present, right? So what it means? Now it means while you are calling the add method, it is not guaranteed that the element is going to be added, right? If the element is added, then it will return true. If the element is already present in the collection, then it will not add again, and in that case it is going to return to false, right? And if I'm going with the same example, same of a sorted set, the add method is going to be same. In the case of a sorted set, whatever this add method in a HashSet doing, the add method of sorted set is also going to do the same thing. The only difference is that here the add method, while adding the element, it will add the element at the end of the collection, right? And in the case of a sorted set, based on the you can say based on the key position, right? Based on the element position in the ascending order, it will add the element in its appropriate position, right? So now if you want to add some element, then you can follow the syntax. Suppose I'm creating a collection, HashSet collection for string countries, right? So you can say I'm specifying string as the type. So while calling the add method, I need to specify the string values like this. If you try to enter any other values other than string, then you will get some compilation error, right? Adding duplicate element, if you try to add a duplicate elements, right, by using the add method or by using the collection initializer, right, in that case the duplicate element is not going to be added, right? They are simply ignored by the collection, right? If the element is already present, then it will not add that element again. In that case, the add method is going to return you false, indicating that the element is not added successfully. If the add method return you true, then in that case, it will make sure that the element is added to the collection successfully, right? And you can see as this class provides the add method, which is taking T type parameter, so you can also use collection initializer, right? So whenever a class does not have the add method, then you cannot use the collection initializer. You can see stack. You can see our queues. Tag and queue collection class does not have add method. So you cannot use collection initializer. But this HashSet having this add method means, and that add method taking some T type parameter means you can use collection initializer to initialize the collection while creating the right like this. So here I'm creating the HashSet collection and I'm initializing the element. Now if you are working with the sorted set, then the same initializer on the same way you can initialize, right? Instead of HashSet, you can also write the keyword, or you can use the class sorted set, and the functionality is going to be same. Only difference is that in this case, items are added in the same order. In the case of a sorted set, the elements are going to be added in the ascending order, right? And if you want to access the elements, right, then you can access the element by using a for each loop, right? Using for each loop, you can access the element from the sorted set or HashSet collection. And as this collection does not have any indexer, right? Indexing is not available in the HashSet collection, right? So what will happen? You cannot use for loop, right? You can access the element by using for loop, but as this class does not have any indexer, so you cannot access the element by using the index position, and not having indexer, so you cannot even use for loop to access the elements, right? Now let us see one example so that you can easily understand. Okay, this is the example. I'm creating a HashSet collection. Okay, let me give this name as HashSet. Right, this is the HashSet collection. I'm adding few elements to this collection, right? I'm adding some duplicate elements to the collection, and I'm using, right, I'm using a for each loop to access the element, right? So this is a very simple example where I'm creating a HashSet, adding element, HashSet, adding duplicate element to the HashSet, right? But while adding duplicate elements, right, let me uh, give you some brief introduction. Boolean is added, right? So as this method is going to return me some true or false value, UK, right? So I'm just giving you this example like this. So what I'm doing, I'm putting the breakpoint. So why am I adding this one? Now to make sure that here I'm adding UK, here I'm adding UK. First time you are adding UK, the return type is going to be true. Second time you are adding, the return type is going to be false, right? So then what I'm doing, I'm just accessing the elements of the HashSet collection, right? So in this case, you can use var, or what is the type of the data string. So instead of var, you can also use string. That is also fine, right? Let me run the application. Right, function F10. So in this case, you can see is added is going to be true. Value you can see is added is going to be true because the element is added, right? Now if you see I have added three elements. Now if you look, the count is going to be 3, right? Now I'm adding the fourth element, I'm adding the fifth element. Now you can see the countries collection count equals to 5 elements are there. Now I'm trying to add the sixth element, but in this case it is a duplicate element. So once I click on my F10, you can see this method is going to return me false, right? False means the item was unable to add into the collection. Now you can see still the count is showing me 5. Again, I'm adding a duplicate element. Again, you can see the count is going to be 5. It is also going to return false in this case, right? And then I'm just using a for each loop, right? to look through all the elements, and you can see all the elements in this collection: India, USA, UK, Bangladesh, and Australia. And here the most important thing that you need to remember is it is a unordered list, right? Unordered means the order in which the elements are added, in the same order the element are going to be stored inside the collection. So while retrieving the collection, you will get the same order, right? It is not in a sorted order. Now what I'm trying to do is, instead of a hard set, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a sorted set, right? Instead of a hard set, I'm going to use sorted set. And once I click on the add method, you can see the operation wise it is going to do the same thing, right? But the only difference is that in this case the items are going to be stored in a sorted order. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
totally.
Yeah. So this is the first example, right? Now even you can also use collection initializer, right? Collection initializer in the sense, okay, let me use the collection initializer syntax. Right? So right, you can see I'm using the collection initializer now. The same thing, you will also get the same out, even though you are using collection initializer, as this element are available already in the top. So again the same element is not going to be added. So let's run the application and see the output. See, only 5 elements are going to be there instead of sorted set. Now let's make use of a hard set. Even though you are going to use a hard set, you will get the same output, right? But in this case, the data is going to be in unsorted order. So you can use collection and initializer, or you can use add method to add the elements, right? So this is the add method, adding elements to hard set. Okay, remove this one, remove this one. This is not required. We are not adding elements using add method. We are adding element using collection initializer, right? So this is the way you can add and you can retrieve element from the collection, right? And how to remove element from a generic hard set, even though whatever option I'm providing you, the same option is also available in the case of a sorted set, right? So there are 3 methods that you can use to remove an element from the collection. One is remove method T items, right? T item means whatever the type of your generic hard set collection, whatever type you specified for the type parameter, that type value you can pass to this remove method. And if that value is available, right, then it will remove that element from the collection and return true. If the value is not available, then it will return false, right? And remove where means here you need to provide one predicate means some condition you need to provide, and how many elements, right, satisfy that condition, right? Those elements are going to be simply removed from the collection. And clear method means it is going to remove all the element from the collection. Clear, right? Let us see one example for better understanding. So you can see I'm creating a hard set. I'm initializing 2 element using collection initializer. Then I'm adding, right? Then I'm adding 3 elements, right? Using the add method. Then I'm trying to add 2 duplicate element. And in this case, this UK and India already available in the collection, India and UK. So these elements are simply going to be ignored by the collection, right? These 2 elements are not going to be added. And then what I'm going to do, and I'm just printing the element before removing, and then I'm removing the element Bangladesh, right? Is Bangladesh available inside the collection? Yes. Bangladesh is available, and you can also check whether the Bangladesh is removed or not by using this Boolean property, right? It is going to return true. If Bangladesh is removed, it is going to return true. If not removed, it is going to return false, right? After removing that element, I'm again using for loop to make sure that Bangladesh element is removed from the collection. Then I'm using the remove where method, right? And remove where method means you need to specify a predicate, and here I'm specifying the predicate using the lambda expression, and using the lambda expression I'm specifying please remove all the elements, right, from this HashSet collection where the element length is this. So if you are confusing with X, you can also write element, right? So it is not mandatory. You can use X, you can write anything. But whatever you are specifying, this actually representing the elements of this collection. So I'm specifying element. Please remove all the element where the element length is greater than 3. Right? How many elements are there whose length is greater than 3? One is Bangladesh is already removed, right? Then Nepal is there and India is there. So you will see two elements are going to be removed, and after the end, you will see US and UK is there in the collection, right? Then I'm removing all the element by using the clear method, right? We no need to explain anything about this clear method because we know what this clear method is going to do, right? Let me run the application, right? So initially, how many elements are there? Count showing 5. Even though we have added 2 elements, 3 element 5, here I'm trying to add 2 element 7, but these two are duplicate elements. So these 2 elements are not going to be added into the collection. So you can see the total number of element is going to be 5, and these are the elements, right? Then HashSet elements count before removing Bangladesh, right? After removing Bangladesh, how many elements are going to be there? 4 elements. You can say Nepal, India, USA, and UK. HashSet elements count after removing 2 elements, right? In the predicate, what predicate we are using here, right? That predicate is going to remove 2 elements, right? After removing those 2 elements, what are the elements available? USA and UK. What is the count? Count is going to be 2. And once I clear all the element, right? Once I call the clear method, the count is going to be 0. Any question from anyone? Guys?
So this remove where will be only in HashSet or
No, we have already discussed yesterday also, na? Remove all, right? So what are the method, remove method is available in your collection. What you need to go? You need to go to the definition, and then you need to check what are the remove method available in your collection. Right? I never remember what are the method available inside a collection. I always go to the definition of the class, and I always try to figure out what are the collection available. Right? So yesterday we have discussed something called dictionary, right? Right? Now, if you go to the dictionary method, right, then you will see there should be some remove method. It's not there. Remove T key, right? So here you need to specify the key. So a dictionary in the sense what? You need to store key and a value, right? And in this case, you can see this is the key that you need to use to remove the element, right? So there are different methods available, and you can use those methods to remove the element, right? I'm showing all the methods, right? Also I'm specifying that in the document what are the methods available to remove the elements, right? In this case, this is the remove method and remove where. I'm not writing this method by my own. I'm just going to the definition of this class, and I'm just trying to figure out what are the remove method available. Yes, this remove method, what is the use of this remove method? Remove the specified element, right, from the object, right? From the object means what? Whatever the collection you have created, right? In this case, system.collection.generics, this is the namespace, and this is the collection class name, right? From this collection, it is going to remove a specified element. What element? That you specified by using this item parameter, right? And in this case, it will return true if the element is successfully found and removed. Otherwise, it is going to return me false, right? This method returns false if item is not found in the object, right? So if you open this remove all, right? Remove all elements that match the condition defined by the specified predicate, right? So whatever condition you have provided using this predicate, right? All the elements which matched with this condition, all such elements are going to be removed from this collection. Clear? Right?
So this predicate like remove will not be available in all these things. Is there an eligibility for like predicate to mention in specific collections?
I'm not understanding what exactly you are asking.
Suppose in dictionary we don't have a remove method where we can specify the predicate like condition.
Okay.
So
Yes.
do we have any like any condition or like to be the to have the predicate, do we need any eligibility criteria in collection?
See, this collection framework are already defined by the .NET framework, right? A predicate criteria, there should not be any criteria, right? What are the operations you can perform on a collection, right? That is going to be provided by the framework itself. We are not going to decide what are the operations we can perform on this hard set, right? If you think that why they are not providing that LIFO and FIFO principle on this hard set collection, then we need to ask to the Microsoft team why you are not providing this option. And if you are asking me why they are not storing the element based on the ascending order in the stack collection, we cannot do that. Now, stack means that role and responsibility is different, right? Stack means they are providing, if you want to implement, right, the LIFO principle, right, the element which is added should be removed first, and then you should go with a stack. And there should not be any option to remove multiple elements. Always you can remove the top of the element, right? And if you will ask me how I can use predicate to remove multiple elements, this is not possible. Why? Because the functionality is there. Now you have to use that functionality. Always you can remove from top of the stack, or you can, if you are using with the queue collection, then you remove the element from the beginning of the queue, and there should not be the option that you can simply remove multiple elements. Right now, if you go with list collection, right, list of integer. See, you can see here we are having the remove all method, right? So in this case, they are providing the remove all method. So this remove all method is similar to the method what we are using here, remove where, right? This remove all and remove where is actually going to be same, right? Remove all, you can see remove all elements that match the condition specified by the specified predicate. And what is here? He is saying in the case of a remove, what we are checking, we need to check this one, right? So they remove all elements that match the condition defined by the specified predicate from a collection, right? So we cannot decide, it is not in our hand what we are want, right? What we want and what why they are not providing. That is not in our hand. This class, I mean, these are the framework classes, right? Framework classes means they design these classes based on the current requirement, right? And they are also updating these things, right? Updating in the sense, today you are having some issue in one of the collection, right? In the later version, right, when they are providing the newer framework, then they can eliminate the issue. So previously we have discussed that on that contents method, right? So not contents that yeah, uh, some method where they are providing the exception earlier, but now they are not providing the exception, if, right? So the things that you need to remember, why they are not providing, I cannot I cannot tell, right? Simply speaking, what they are providing, that I can tell. right? Because this is not we are designing, right? And based on their requirement, they are designing. So what is exactly your question? Why they are not providing this remove where method in a dictionary, right?
Yes, sir, because like suppose if we have a criteria that remove all the elements from the dictionary where the length is greater than 5.
But
How can
the thing is that in that case we cannot remove element by in that way, na. In that case, the elements
he is
are not storing at one place, right? Elements are not storing at one place. In that case, the elements are going to be stored in the form of a key and values, right? And if you want that functionality, right, it is not provided by the dictionary class, but we can achieve that functionality using other ways, right? Using the what you can say lin queues, right? So once we discuss lin queue, then we will see how we can remove those things, what is not required, how you can remove these things, right? So in this case, you can see here we are providing integer and a string. So we are not only storing the element, along with the element, we are also creating some keys, right? We are not going to remove the value. Even we need to remove the key also, right? So in that case, you can see you can only remove the key, right? Once you remove the key, then the key will go to the corresponding values and it will remove the values as well, right? But if you think that I'm going to remove the values, then what about the keys? You understand my point, na? In this case, in the case of a hard set and in the case of a sorted set, we are storing only values. Understand? In the list hard sets, in the list hard set, or you can say sorted set, we are storing only value, so we can specify the predicate and it will directly remove the value. But in the case of a dictionary, we are not only storing values, but we are also storing keys, and the data and the key is playing the important role, right? Whenever you are fetching the data, it will first go to the key, and from the key it will fetch the value, right? And how you can remove the values without removing keys? Understand my point,
yes, sir.
right? What it means? It means first of all we need to remove the key, and once we remove the key, the internal functionality is there. That key will go to the key will remove the associated values, but the reverse is not possible because if you want to identify a value, right, we need to use the key, right? But if you only know the value, then you cannot identify and you cannot remove its associated keys. Why? Because the value can be duplicate, na,
Yes, yeah.
right? Then suppose there are three keys having the same value, right? It might be possible that three keys having the same value, and if you are removing a key, then its associated value is going to be removed. That is fine. But if you are removing a value, then that value is associated with the three keys. Is it ideal to remove all these three keys? This is the reason why they are not providing that remove all method, right? So that you cannot use that remove all, where you need to specify what are the values you want to remove, right? This is the reason they are not providing that remove all or remove where. But yes, if you want to filter out in the sense, if you want only the element whose length is this, whose length is that, and if you want to filter out the collection, that is possible. That is what we are going to discuss in the lin queues, right? But this is the reason why they are not providing that remove all or remove where predicate. Clear?
Yes, okay.
Right? So in this case, you can see
Okay, one more, a very fast question, quick. I mean, it would be right to say that in the hash set, the value is the key at the same time. I mean, they're both the same.
in the hard set, we do not have that key concept.
No, I agree, but what I mean is you locate them by value, right? And the value
Yes.
is the key at the same time. Seems like that. I mean,
So see, don't mix the key and value concept here. Here there is no key concept, only value is there. Right? Key and value both are two different things, right? And here in the hard set and in the sorted set or in the list, don't mix up that key and value. Here only values are there, right?
okay.
Yesterday I only show you now. Suppose you are creating a unique constant, right? Unique index. Then what will happen? Now it will create a it will create a separate index table, right? And the actual data is going to be stored at the actual table, and the unique constant is going to be created a separate table, and that table will store the data in ascending or descending order of the unique key column, right? And then it will have a row ID which will pointing to the actual table, right? And whenever you are doing some kind of operations, then not only the actual table data is going to be affected, but also the unique index table is also going to be affected, right? The same principle is also applicable here, right? In the case of a dictionary and what we discussed, right? Sorted list, yeah, something, right? So the same principle is also applicable here. But in the case but if you are creating a table without any primary key and unique key, then there is no additional table will come into the picture. In that case, the original table will contain all the data. There is no additional lookup, right? So, but in this case, the same thing is also applicable here. If you are creating a hard set, then there is no additional table. But if you are creating a dictionary, then there is some additional things is happening, right? Because it simply cannot do the key and value. Means key is separate and value is separate. Key can be a string, key can be integer, the value can be a string, integer, any complex type you can consider, right? Clear? So don't mix up that key and this value. In this case, there is no keys. Here only values.
Okay, thanks.
Right? So you can see you can add element using the add method. You can use retrieve the element, and here the remove and remove where method, and here clear method. Right? So even though you can also use this sorted set to do the same thing, right? Instead of a hard set, you can make use of a sorted set, right? The operation is going to be same. But here the data what you are storing, that is stored in the ascending order, right? Bangladesh, India, Nepal, you can use it. The data is stored in the sorted order. That is the only difference between hard set and a sorted set. Clear? Guys?
Yes.
Right? Now how to check the availability? We already discussed whether an element available or not. That you can check by using the contents method, right? The same contents method is also available here, right? The same contents method is also available here, right? So suppose you want to check India is available or not, New Zealand is available or not, then you can use the contents method. It is going to return you true and false. If the element is available, then it is going to return true, and if the element is not available inside this collection, then it is going to return you false. And this contents method is applicable to both sorted set and hard set, right? In this case, you can see the first statement giving me true, the second key, that is NZ, is giving me false. In this case, it should not be India element is India exist and in New Zealand exists. So it should not be key, right? Instead of sorted set, you can also write sorted list. So, sorry, instead of a hard set, you can also use sorted set, and it is also going to do the same operation, right? There is no difference, true and false, right? So this is fine. This is fine. But now we are going to discuss some of the operations which are not available with our list collection. Now we are going to discuss some of the set operations, right, which you might be familiar, right, which you might be familiar with your SQL. See, in SQL, you might be know something called joining, right? Inner join, outer join, left outer join, right outer join, full outer join, right? Different kind of a join, you know, intersect, you know, expect, you know, right? So different kind of set operations, you know, intersect, union. Give me guys 1 minute. Right? So you know there are some union operation, you know there are some intersect operation, right? We can also do those operations in .NET, right? If your collection is a hard set or sorted set, right? Now we are going to discuss how to perform union, intersect, expect, and symmetric expect. What are all these operations? What is the when you need to which one? What exactly happening when I'm using this union with method, right? When I'm using this intersect with method, right? What are happening behind the scene? When to use this and when to use this one? Right, the working principle of this, how I can use this union with our intersect, all these four methods in our application, all these things we are going to discuss now. And these operations are very, very important, right, when you are working with the real-time applications, right? And the second thing, these operations are not available with your other collections from classes like a dictionary list and all these things. These methods are available only with hard set and sorted set, right? So here you can also mention set operations not allowed. Set operations not allowed, right? Set operations not allowed, and here set operations allowed, right? So this is my hard set, this is my sorted set, right? So whatever set operations, these are allowed only in the case of a hard set and sorted set, but not allowed in your list. Now let us discuss all these four methods. What are these methods and how we can use these methods and what they are going to do internally with some examples, right? See, let us start with the discussion with this union with method, right? Because see, initially whatever their operations, how we are adding, right? We are already discussing this so many times, so I'm not giving focus on these things, right? So but this is what we are going to discuss now. It is new to us, so we need to understand this thing very thoroughly, right? The union with method contains all the elements which are present in both the collection while removing the duplicate element. So when I'm saying this union with method contains all the elements which are present in both the collections, right? Both the collections. Both the collection means, first of all, you need to understand, if I'm going to work with union with the method, then we should have two collections. If we are having two collections, then it might be possible that, right? It might be possible that some of the elements are available in collection one, some of the elements are available in collection two, right? Some of the elements are common in both the collection. Some of the elements are available in collection one, but not available in collection two. Wait a minute, one. That means some of the elements are available in both the collections. Some of the elements are available in collection one. Some of the those are not available in collection two, and some of the elements are available in collection two but not available in collection one. So in this case, what he will going to do? He will going to do the union operation, and once he is doing the union operation, means it will contain all the elements. It will contain all the elements from collection one, all the element from collection two, and then it is going to remove the duplicate elements. Understand, guys?
Just like basic union set operations.
Exactly. These are the set basic set union operation, right? For example, if you look at this example, my collection one having these 5 elements: India, USA, UK, New Zealand, and Bangladesh. And this is my collection too. It is also having India, South Africa, Sri Lanka, USA, and Zimbabwe. So you can see India and USA in is there in collection one. India and USA is also there in collection one. Now this collection having 5 elements, and this collection is also having 5 elements. Total how many elements? If I am going to combine these two collections, 10 elements. But remember, these two elements are available in collection 1 and collection 2. So one of the so it will eliminate the duplicates. Eliminate the duplicate means, so it is going to contain this India and South Africa not twice, only one time, right? India is not going to be twice in the collection, or USA is not going to be twice in the collection, because they are duplicated. So they are going to be in. So the point that you need to remember, if you are performing a union with operation, means one element will be available only once. Whether it is available in collection 1 or whether it is available in collection 2, it will be there, right? It will be there only once, right? And how to perform this union with operation means, you have to call the union with operation on one of the collection, and you need to pass the other collection as a parameter to that collection. For example, I want to join, or I want to perform a union with operation with collection and collection. That in that case, what will happen? It will take all the elements from collection 1, and it will get all the elements from collection 2. It will remove the duplicate elements, and whatever the result, right? 5 elements, 3 elements, 8 elements will be stored inside this collection, right? So how we can perform? See, this is the example. See, this is my collection 1. So you can see this is collection 1, right? Collection 1. I'm doing the union with operation, right? And I'm passing collection 2. So in this case, right, after doing the union with operation, whatever the result, that result is going to store inside my collection 1, not inside my collection 2. Why? So in this case, we are calling this method on this class, on this instance. This is my current instance. This is my instance. And this is the second instance which I'm passing as a parameter, right? You understand? This is my current instance, and this is the instance which I'm passing as a parameter. So in this case, I'm calling this union with method on which instance? HashSet countries 1. So where we created HashSet countries 1? Here I'm creating the HashSet countries 1. And what instance I'm passing here? HashSet countries 2. This is the second instance which I'm passing as a parameter to this method. So in this case, after performing the union with operation, right, the result is going to store inside this collection, not inside this past parameter, right? Understand, guys?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Any question? Right. So now anybody tell me, if say in this case, if I am using a for each loop, so okay, let me show you the count property also here, right? So that you will get better idea. So initially the count is going to be, right? So what is this dot? What is the property name? Count, right? This is to count, right? Right. So now tell me, when I run this application here, what should be the count value?
5.
5. Fine. And in this case, what should be the count value?
5 again.
5 again. And what should be the count value in this case?
Will be 8.
8. Why? Because the duplicate element are not going to be added. In this case, in country collection 2, in the HashSet countries 2, this India and US are not going to be added. Why? Because this India and USA already available inside this collection. And we know what is the use of a HashSet. HashSet means it's simply going to remove the duplicate elements, right? So in this case, it is going to give me the count as 8. Let me run the application. See, count 5, count 5, count 8. And you can see India and USA only once, not twice. Clear? What is this union with operation? It is simply get all the records from both the collection by eliminating the duplicate records. As simple as it is, right? So what you need to, the union with method contains all the elements which are present in both collection while removing the duplicate elements. Clear? Or any question from anyone? Clear?
Yeah.
Instead of a HashSet, you can also use sorted set, right? And instead of a HashSet, you can also use sorted set. Only difference is that the items are in sorted order, right? You can see Bangladesh, India, New Zealand, UK, USA ascending order of alphabetically, and the result is also going to be this. Otherwise, everything is going to be same, right? This is one opposite operation which we have discussed. Now the second set operation what we are going to discuss is intersect with. So we have discussed union with, now we are going to discuss intersect with. Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of intersect set operation?
Yeah, when you have two sets, whatever that is common between the two sets, that is given.
Exactly, absolutely correct, right? The intersect method of generic HashSet collection class contains the common elements which are present in both the collection, right? Common elements which are present in both the collection, that is going to be written by the intersect with operation, right? Suppose this is my country collection 1. This country collection having India, USA, UK, New Zealand, and Bangladesh. This is my country collection 2. This is also India, USA, South Africa, Sri Lanka, and Zimbabwe. If you look, these two elements, India and USA, is available inside this collection and also available inside the second collection, right? Now, when I'm doing this intersect with operation between these two collections, now the intersect with operation will perform, and now the HashSet country 1, right, is going to contain only the elements which are available in both the collection. And in this case, you can see these two elements are available here. These two elements are available here. So after this operation, this country collection 1 is going to contain only these two elements. Clear? Now let me run the application. See, India and US. Clear? Or any question from anyone?
Yeah, clear.
Right? And even you can also use what sorted set. The output is also going to be same, but in this case, the data is in sorted order, right? Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, can anybody tell me what is the use of a expect set operation, except? Can anybody tell me what is the use of except? Already we have understand this thing in our SQL, or if you are having some logical operations, a bit of bitwise. So except operation means what? The elements which are available in the first collection, but those elements are not available inside the second collection, right? The elements which are available in the first collection, but not available inside the second collection, right? In this case, instead of using this intersect with, if I'm using except with, then what will be the output, right? So in this case, tell me which are the elements which are available in first collection but not available in second collection. Guys, tell me. elements which are available in collection 1 but not in collection 2. Is this
UK,
element
UK, New Zealand, and Bangladesh.
okay? UK, New Zealand, and Bangladesh. These are the 3 elements which are available in collection 1 but not available in collection 2. So in this case, this except with method is going to return me those elements, those 3 elements, right? Let me run the application. See, you can see Bangladesh, New Zealand, and UK in ascending order. Why? Because here I'm using sorted set, and if I'm using HashSet, then the order is not going to be in ascending, right? So in this case, it is going to give me UK, New Zealand, and Bangladesh. Clear? Okay. Now the last one in this set operation is symmetric with. The symmetric except with method contains elements that are not common in both the collections, right? That are not common in both the collection. The elements which are not common in both the collection, those elements are going to be available inside the, right? So in this case, these 3 elements are unique in this collection, and in this case, these 3 elements are unique this collection, right? So these elements are not available inside this collection, and these elements are not available inside this collection, right? So the output is going to contain these 3 elements as well as these 3 elements. The elements which are not common in both the collections, those elements are going to be returned. So in this case, only the common element is India, USA, India, USA. So apart from India, USA, all other elements it is going to return. Clear?
Yeah, it is just like intersection, but in a reverse, in the other order. Means intersection gives common element. This except
So
common element, it gives all the other elements,
yeah,
combines the 2 sets.
Yeah, it is just opposite of union operation. Sorry, intersect operation, right?
Yeah.
It is just opposite of intersect, right? So this is how you can use the set operations in a .NET framework, right? Now let me give you one example, right, where I will show you how to work with the collection from complex type. Suppose I'm using a class type here, right? I'm using a class, and here I'm adding some elements. So in this collection, I'm using collection initializer syntax to add elements. So you can see I'm adding one element, right? Here I'm adding a duplicate element, and I'm adding 2 more elements. So in this case, you can see I'm adding duplicate elements, right? And then I'm just looping through the collection. So in this case, can anybody tell me what will be the output?
101, 102, 103.
101, 102, and 103. Is that you are thinking, guys?
Right.
Right. Okay. Let's see what Visual Studio and what .NET Framework are thinking. Our thinking is right, but what visual thinking and what we are thinking, is that right?
It's only for primitive data type, not for the object. It can add duplicates.
Right. So you can see no. You can see as per our understanding, the HashSet collection should remove the duplicate elements. But in this case, it is not removing the duplicate elements, right? But guys, tell me, in this case, when I'm, what is this? This is nothing but one instance. That instance or that reference address is going to be stored here. So this reference address and this reference address is going to be same or different?
Different.
Different means for HashSet, it's a different object only, na? Right? So it is going to check reference equality, right? And in this case, both are having a different reference address. Then why you will treat both are same, right? So what we need to do is, if you are working with reference data type, right? Then if you are working with a complex type, then simply putting the complex data like this, it will not remove the duplicate elements, right? we need to tell, right? We need to tell the hash table or .NET framework that based on this column, you can check the equality. If IDs are going to be same, then please please consider them as I mean duplicate. If name are equal, then please consider them as equal. And if branch is equal, then consider. But in this case, it might be possible that two persons having the same name in a class, but the ID is never going to be equal, right? So basically what it means based on your requirement, right? You need to decide how you are going to eliminate the duplicate record, right? So that is what you need to understand. So for that, what we need to do, we need to implement the equatable interface, right? And this equatable interface having the equals method and the get has code method, right? These two methods we need to override, and we need to tell based on what property we want the equality, we want the reference equality, right? When which property, you need to make sure that when these two property are same, then please consider them as a reference equality, right? Then how you can do this? You need to do this. First, you need to implement the equatable interface, and you need to specify the type. Here, the type is going to be student. Then you need to provide the equals and get as code method, right? So you need to provide the implementation for this equals method, and you need to override the get has code method. And here you need to provide, right? You need to provide this implementation. This dot id equals to other dot id. This dot id means the current instance, right? The current id equals to the id you are comparing with. If both are equal, then please consider this element as a equal method. And when you are implementing equal method, you should implement this get hash code. You should override this get hash code, which should return you the ID hash code of the ID column. Right? What is this immutable interface? Now, this interface provides one method called equals, and this method is used for determining equality of instances. Right? Whether two instances are equal or not, that logic you have to provide inside this equals method, right? Even if you are creating two reference, two object, means the reference address is 100% is going to be different, right? That is we are sure, right? If you are creating two object, means even though we are creating both two object with the same data, both object are going to be different, both object having different memory location, right? But if you want to make sure, and if you want to tell the framework, right, if these two value are equal, then consider the reference are also equal, right? But not practically, but consider and do the operation accordingly. Then what we need to do, then we need to inherit, we need to implement this interface, and we need to provide implementation to this equals method, right? Once you provide implementation to this equal method, then here you need to write the logic, right? The equal checking logic, right? The current ID, if equals to the ID we are comparing with are equal, then consider the two elements are equal, right? For better understanding, let me show you this thing practically. Guys, give me see. So here the student class implement this immutable interface and providing the implementation for the equals method, right? Now, if you run this application, right, then it will check this is the current instance, right? This is the current object. The first object is the current object, right? And then it is going to compare with the second object, and it is going to compare the ID values. If the ID values are equal, right, then it is going to return true, and in that case this element will not be added into the collection. Right now, let me run the application and show you the things practical. So here basically we need to tell based on what column we need to check the equality. Right, you can see the you can see the output now. It is removing the duplicate element, and it is always mandatory to implement the get hash code method when you are providing implementation for the equals method. Right, let me remove the things, and again I'm implementing this, but this time I'm not getting the output. Why? Now in this case, whenever I'm using this equals method, it is internally getting the hash value of this ID, right? And right, and in this case if you are not providing this implementation, then you will not get the output as expected. So even though, but if you go to the I equatable interface, you will see that this class having only the equals method. But even though you are implementing the equals method, it is mandatory to override this get hash code method. Can anybody tell me from which class this get hash code is coming?
Object.
Object class, right? So you have to override, because and here you need to get the hash code, and based on this hash code value, it is going to check the equality, right? So this is how you need to provide implementation, right? If you want to eliminate the duplicate elements, then whatever class you are creating, right, inside that class, you just need to override this get as code method. You need to provide the implementation for the equals method, and if you are comparing two values, right, and if you are comparing two values in the sense not only the ID, right, but also other thing, then you can also write the logic here, right? So in this case, if the IDs are equal, then I'm checking that if two will ID are same, then consider this as a unique value, right? Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right? And the same thing is also applicable to your sorted set that you can try. So this is how we have discussed hard set and sorted set. Now, the next thing we are going to discuss sorted list. Right? Any question from anyone related to hard set and sorted set?
So that can you please repeat what is the function of that get hash code methods?
What is the function of this get hash code method? So basically it will generate a hash value, right? So basically it will generate a hash value which is nothing but an integer number, right? Let me compare. So you can see it is returning some value 101101, right? And again I'm creating a new object with the same data. I think I have discussed this previously, but I think you have missed at class. See, you can see here the hash value is this one and the hash value of this one. Even though we are creating two different objects, right? The hash value of this ID and the hash value of this ID, it is going to be same. Yes or no? And in this case, what logic you have implemented here, right? So while comparing these things, now it will get the ID hash value of the current instance and it will get the ID value of this other instance, right? If the hash value, in this case, what will happen? Now, if the hash value are equal, then it is going to return me true. So see, in this case, suppose this is my first object, right? The current object. And in this case, if I am comparing with other object, right? Then in that case, other object is nothing but to consider this one. So here the ID value you are passing 101, here the ID value you are passing 101. So this, in this case, it will get the hash value of this ID and the hash value of this ID. 101 hash value, it will compare 101 hash value. And if both are same, then it is going to return me true. Right? Suppose you want to check this with name property, right? So you can also do the same thing, na? Right? So now name. So instead of a name, if both are having same name, you will get the same value. So here, what I can do is std name. Right? So in this case also we are getting the ID of the, see, in this case you can see this is the hash value of a name Anurag and sorry, yes, name Anurag, and you can see both the in both the cases the hash value is going to be same, right? So basically it is going to generate a hash code, and the hash code for any property, and the hash value is going to be integer, and that is very easy to compare, right? So name means how you can compare the two names. He cannot compare the two names, right? Right. So what he will do, he will check the equals means or whenever we are comparing anything, right? He will generate the hash value, and based on the hash value, it will check whether both the numbers are equal or not, right? But if I'm writing, right, ABC equals to ABC, so how the comparison is going to be done internally? Internally, the hash value of ABC is going to be generated, and other ABC hash value is going to be generated. If both if both the hash value are same, then it will consider as the value are going to be same, right? In this case, you can see I'm using name and name, so it will generate the hash code of the name, and how it is going to generate it by using this method, right? And then it will compare, and if both are same, then it will consider them as same, and it will remove the element. Clear?
So, suppose if two objects values are different, then the hash code also will be different for those two values for that
Exactly.
particular.
Suppose here I'm writing Anurag, here I'm writing Mohanty, right? Here I'm writing Mohanty. Now the name is Anurag and the name is Mohanty. So in this case, the name are same or different?
Different.
So if name are different, then definitely the hash value what it is going to generate, it is going to be different. So in this case, you can see Anurag equals to this, Mohanty equals to this. Understand? Yes or no? The hash value is
Yeah.
different.
So is this hash value is referred to each object or each property of the object, sir?
Sorry?
This hash value will be generated for each object, or it is for each property of the object?
Each property of the object. Each property of the, so previously I show you the hash value of ID. Now I'm showing you hash value of name. So you just tell me it is generated for the property or object.
Yeah, it is for property, but like the code was same for different names, but only the different name was appended, prepended to it.
So I'm not understanding what is appended you are saying. Can you elaborate, please?
Yes, like can you please open the output of the recent code that you explained?
Hmm.
Yeah, so here the hash value of Anurag and Mohanty, the only names are different, and the values after that is same. So
No, the value are different. Okay,
the
Another
code that is up.
Actually, STD, there is some
Sorry?
error in writing the code. Can you go back to the code? You are using STD again, yes. In the second line also.
Yeah. Sorry. This is the mistake I'm doing. It is going to be different. See, now you can see the value are different.
Yes, got it.
Okay. So this is how you need to work with this collection framework. I think I have already discussed this get as code equals toString methods of object class previously, and I hope you have missed that class or you have forgotten that. Right? Okay, forget about it. This. Should we continue or stop today, guys?
As you wish.
How many guys are online? 11. Okay, let's continue. So these are very small things, right? And this is sorted list collection class belongs to. So now we are going to discuss the sorted list collection. It's going to be discussed very fast because so we have already discussed a dictionary, right? In dictionary, the data are not going to be stored in ascending order, right? But if you want to store the data in the ascending order, right, then you need to go with the sorted list. If you want to store the data in ascending order of the keys, then you need to go with the sorted list, right? The way we have discussed here, we have list hash table this, right? Now, if you are coming with a dictionary, DICTI or in dictionary, right? Here you need to specify T key and here you need to specify T value. So data is on order, right? Data is on order, and if you are coming with a the sorted list, right? Right? Data is ordered data. The only difference is this one, right? So let us do the things practically, right? I'm not going to discuss these things again and again, right? You need to create this add method is there, right? It will not allow duplicate. It will not allow the key as null, right? It will not allow, right, any duplicate keys, right? This thing we have already discussed in our dictionary, right? You can also use collection initializer, right? You can you can access the element by using for loop, right? Why you can access the element by using for loop? Because this class having the indexer, right? You can access by using the integer index position. You can access the element by using the for each loop, right? Let me show you this thing practically because again and again, I know you guys are getting bored while I'm discussing the things, same thing again and again. So let us directly jump into the program. So in this case, I'm creating a collection. So you can see it's a sorted. So instead of saying this is sorted list, you can say you can see here I'm creating sorted list means it's a kind of a dictionary, right? Dictionary means you need to specify the key and you need to specify the values for that key. And in this case, you can see I'm adding the element in random order, right? You can see I'm adding 1, 5, 4, 2, 3, right? That means the data is added in the random order. And as we already discussed while you are creating a dictionary, the key cannot be null. So if you are passing the key as a null value, then you will get some compilation error, right? That null cannot be converted to int. Why? Because you are specifying this as int. So key cannot be null in your sorted list, right? And again, duplicate key is not allowed. So in this case, you can see 2 is already there. and again I'm trying to add the duplicate key, so you will get some kind of an exception, right? So you can see an entry with the same key already exists, right? So duplicate key is not allowed, right? And then once you created the collection, you can use a for loop to access the values. Why I am able to use for loop? Because if you go to the collection, then you will see that this is having the indexer, right? And this indexer having get and set accessor, and as it is an indexer, so you can access the for loop by using the index position. So in this case, I'm using this loop, right? And the loop is going to work for the number of elements -1. So here I'm starting the loop from 0 and it will go further to the number of elements, right? So when this value becomes the number of elements, the loop will terminate, right? In this case, you can get the keys, right? So and if you go to this collection class, then you will see that this collection class also having a property called keys. This collection class is also having the property called values. So what this keys is going to return? A collection of keys, right? But what key I am interested? I want the key that is present inside in this index position. So here the sort right here it is going to generate the internal index, right? And which is going to starting from 0, 1, 2, 3 onwards, but according to the sorted order of these elements, right? So in this case, I0 means it is going to pointing to this element, right? So in this case, the index position for this element is going to be 0, right? Then don't think that the second element index position is going to be 1. The second index 1 is going to be this one, right? And the index position 2 is going to be this one. Index position 3 is going to be this one, right? And index position 4 is going to be this one, right? So in this case, I just want to get the index position 0 value, 0 key, and in that case, it will return me 1, right? And if you want to get the value, you have to use the values properties. And from where I'm getting this keys and values properties, if you go to the definition, then you will see that there is a keys properties and there is a values properties, and these are nothing but only get access. That means what? That means using this keys and values property, we can get the value, but we cannot set the value. So in this case, I'm getting the key value, which is present in index position 0, and I'm getting the values, which is present in the index position 0, right? This is how you can access the element by using for loop. And if you want to access the element by using for each loop, then you know we are having some key value pair collection, right? And in this collection, in this class, we are having two properties. One is key and another is value. The key property will return me the key of the element, and the value property is going to return me the value property of the element, right? And in this case, this I refers to the index position, right? And in this case, this 1, 2, 3, it is not index, but it is the keys, right? In this case, 1 means this value it is going to return. 2 means what is the value present inside the key 2 that is going to return. So don't consider these are index. These are keys. But in this case, these are index. Understand? Both are different. Well, you are accessing by using index. Say in this case, it is accessing the keys based on the index position. In this case, it is accessing the element, right, by using the keys only. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Right? Now, if you run the application, you will see the output. See, you can see key 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? In this case, you can, if you want to make sure what is happening, you can also write the index. Right? See, you can see. Okay, let me give some space. See, you can see index 0. In 0th index position, key 1 is there and where value 1 is stored. In index 1, key 2 is there and value 2 is there. And in this case, this is key 1, value 1, key 2, value 2, 3, value 2. And this is accessing the element by using the for each loop. Any question from anyone? This is same as a dictionary. The only difference is that in this case, the data is stored in the sorted order. See, if I'm converting this to a dictionary, right? If I'm converting this to a dictionary, right, then you cannot access this using the key value pair indexing because it is not maintaining any. So we have discussed the dictionary now. Using system dot linq right? So in this case, you can see I'm using a dictionary, and while I'm using a dictionary, I'm also doing the same thing, right? But in this case, you will see the data is not going to be sorted, right? So in this case, in 0 index position, key 1 is there, in 1 key 5 is there. See, the data is not sorted. Understand? But if I'm using this sorted list, the data is going to be sorted. Clear? What is the difference between these two? Right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So this is how you can access the elements, right? You can use the collection initializer syntax, right? Let me show you the example. Right. This is my collection initializer. This is sorted list. And I'm here creating I'm adding some elements into the random order. Why I'm able to use collection initializer? Because this collection class having the add method, right? Whenever you see any collection class having the add method, then you can use this collection initializer, right? And then I'm accessing the elements. So in this case, you can also see the same output. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. The next example is remove art and clear. Already we discussed. Remove means here you need to specify the key that you want to remove. Remove art means you need to specify the index position and it will remove the element from that index position. And the clear method means it is going to remove all the elements, right? And guys, I'm not so how I'm able to know that these are the methods available to remove the elements? Just go to the definition and you will see that remove method is there, remove art method is there, and the clear method is also there. So by looking at the signature only, you will able to know what are the options available, right? So in this case, you can see I'm creating a sorted list and here I'm using the add method and here I'm using India, USA, South Africa, SL. I'm using the string keys, but in this case also you will see that the data is going to be sorted based on the key column, right? And here I'm just printing the count and the capacity. Capacity is not required. If you want, you can print, right? So in this case, I'm just printing the original collection data, and then I'm removing the SL element, right? I'm removing the SL key from the collection, right? And once I remove the SL means the associated element is also going to be removed from the collection, right? So once I remove the SL key, right, then what you will see that all other elements apart except the Sri Lanka, right? And in this case, I'm going to remove the element which is present in the index position 1, and you will see that element is going to be removed. And guys, remember in .NET Framework, indexes are started from 0, right? And here I'm calling the clear method which will remove all the elements, right? Let me run the application. See, initially the count equals to 4. This is the element. After removing the Sri Lanka, this is my count. So in this case, India is in index position 0, South Africa in index position 1, and USA in index position 2. And here I'm removing index position 1 means the South Africa element is going to be removed from the collection. And you can see India and the USA is there. And after clear method, the count is going to be 0. Clear? Guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is very simple, and you should understand these things because we have already discussed this thing many times, right? And now, if you want to check whether a key value pair exists in the collection or not, then you can use the approach, right? You can use the same approach, right? In dictionary, we have seen how to use the contents key and contents value method. So in this case, it will check whether this key is available in the collection or not. If it is available, then it is going to return me true. If it is not available, it is going to return me false. And in this case, if the value is available, it is going to return me true. If the value is not available, it is going to return me false. But in this case, while using content key method, you cannot specify the key as a null. But in this case, you can specify the key as a null if the type is a reference type. That is what we have already discussed so far, right? So you can see this is my collection, right? And I'm using a for each loop. So instead of using key value pair, if you are not interested to write all these things, you can simply put the var keyword. That is also fine because by looking at this, you can see it is making key value pair. And if you make your mouse pointer over, right, uh, you can see sorted list of this collection. But while you are returning, it is returning me key value pair, right? And then I'm checking whether the contents key method available this key, and contents value method means it is going to check whether this value is available inside this collection or not. If available, it is going to return me true. If not available, it is going to return me false. So in this case, India is available, New Zealand is not available. So India returning true, New Zealand key does not exist, so it is returning me false. And you can see India value exists, so it is returning me true. Bangladesh value does not exist, so it is returning me false, right? This is the example we have already discussed so far. Then now how you can work with the complex type. Let's see one example. Here you can see I'm creating a class of student. I'm looping, I'm creating a collection of sorted list, right? And this is my elements. And in this case, while I'm adding this element, it will give me some runtime exception. Why? Because this key is already added, right? Now, if you run, then you will get a runtime exception saying the key is already and entry with the same key already exists, right? So in this case, the duplicate key is not allowed. And then I'm accessing the element using the collection, right? From the collection using a for each loop, right? And the rest all other operations what we have discussed so far all are applicable to this collection. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Right. So this is so these are the very things because we have already discussed these things many times, right? What you need to understand is how this is working, right? What is the working functionality means how it is going to be stored the data. That is the things that you need to understand. The rest of all are going to be same. right? The last piece of information that what we are going to discuss is sorted dictionary. This is sorted list, and to store some sorted elements, we have also sorted dictionary, right? This is exactly same as your sorted list, right? What is the difference? That is what we are going to discuss at the end of this session, right? So what we have discussed as of now, that is sorted list, the same functionality you can achieve also using sorted dictionary. In this case also, the data is going to be stored in the sorted format, right? But how the data is going to be stored in the sorted format, right? That is what we have to understand, right? That I will explain later at the end of this session, right? You can see this add method is there. Whatever we discuss sorted list, same thing is also applicable here. You cannot store null value as a key. You cannot store duplicate key, right? If you store a duplicate key, you will get runtime error. And you can also use collection initializer because this class supports the add method, right? How to access the elements means we are having the same options also. You can access by using for each loop, you can access by using for loop, and you can also access by using the index position because this class is also having the indexer. Let me show you one example, right? So in this case, you can see I'm creating a sorted dictionary. I'm storing the data in random order. You cannot store a duplicate key. You cannot store null value. If you are storing null value, you will get what compile time error, right? You can see you should get some compilation error. Key cannot be null, right? And here, if you are trying to store duplicate key, then you will get runtime exception. 2 is already added, and again I'm trying to store, I'm getting the runtime exception, right? And you can access the element by using the for each loop. So here I'm using var. If you want, you can also use key value pair, and the key value pair of what type, that type you mentioned here. So integer and a string. So you can specify integer and a string. So key property going to print the key, and the value property is going to print the associated value that is associated with this key. You can also use the for each loop, right? In this case, I'm using the element at linQ method. So I'm bringing this system.linq namespace. So in this case, what this element at method is going to return, now at this index position, what key and value is there, that is what this it is going to return. So if you if you go to this element at method, then you will see that this is T source, right? T source. But in this case, if I'm moving the mouse pointer over here, you can see it is returning me some key value pair into a string, right? So I'm storing that data inside this element key value pair element, and you know in this key value pair there are two properties. One is key and another is value. So in the key property, the key is going to store, and in the value property, the value is going to be stored. And even though you can also access the element by using the keys, right? In this case, these 1 to 5, these are not the index position, these are the keys, right? So now let me run the application and show you the output. So why I'm getting this error? Because I'm not commenting this statement because this is the duplicate key addition statement. So let me comment and let me rerun the application. So now you will get the output as expected. And here you can also observe the data is in sorted order. The data is in sorted order, right? Now the rest of the things you can also do, right? You can also use a collection initializer, right? Let me convert this example to a collection initializer, right? I'm using collection initializer right now. Run the application and you will get the same output as expected, right? Same output, right? Now you can also you can use this remove method, right? You can also use the how to remove the element means here you are going to remove the elements, right? Using the remove method and clear method. And if you go to the definition of this class, you can see this class having remove method, not the remove at method, right? It is only having the remove method, right? So in this case, you can only use the remove method to remove the element, and clear method is for clearing the all the elements, right? So in this case, I'm using a string key, right? So you can see the data is stored based on the key value, right? Sorted based on the keys, right? And then I'm removing the element after removing the rest of the element, and after clearing the count, you can see 0. So this is the same example that we have so far discussed, right? Then contents key and the contents value method is also available. So if you want to check, right, whether an element is available by using the key, then you have to use contents key method. And if you want to check whether an element is available or not based on the values, then you have to use values method, key contents value method. So if the value is available, if the key available, then this method is going to return true. If not available, this method is going to return me false. Similarly, if contents value method is available, if the value is available, this contents value method is going to return true. If the value is not available, this method is going to return me false. In this case, you can see whichever key is available, this key exists, return true. This key not exist, return false. This value exists, return true, and this value doesn't exist, it is returning me false, right? Right? And how to assign a value, right? So how to assign a value means the update and insert operation is also applicable here. And why it is applicable? Because if you go to this key value indexer, right, this indexer is having both get and set accessors, right? As it is having both get and set accessors, so you can set and get the values of the collection, right? So in this case, what I'm trying to do is I'm adding, right? So in this case, you can see this is my collection, right? Right. In this case, you can see I'm creating a collection with two elements. Then I'm adding few more elements, but in this case, I'm using the indexer. So what will happen in this case? Now, if this SA element is available, right? If this SA element is available inside this collection, then it is going to update the value. If this SL element is not available, or SL or whatever key I'm using here, if that key is available, it is going to update the value. If the key is not available, it is going to add the value. So in this case, you can see updated. So what I'm trying to make sure is this is updating. This is adding and this is updating. Why? Because India is already available, USA is already available. So in this case, these three are going to be add and these two are going to be update, right? So in this case, when you access the value, then you will see India and US's updated value. See, so this in England, this is India updated, South Africa, Sri Lanka, and the USA updated, right? So this is how you can add and update the value by using the indexers, right? Now we'll see one example of sorted dictionary using complex type, right? Sorted dictionary using complex type. So you can see I'm creating a class called student having three properties. I'm creating a collection using the collection initializer syntax, adding few elements in the random order, and the keys is going to be 101, 104, 103, 102, right? Then I'm accessing the elements. You cannot add duplicate elements. If you try, you will get the you will get some runtime exception. So I'm just fetching the data, right? That is fine. Now, if you look at the way we are using the sorted dictionary and the sorted list, both are same, right? What is the difference? The sorted dictionary class uses binary search tree, right, to retrieve the data, right? Binary search tree to retrieve the data, whose time complexity is n, a big O of log n, where n is the number of elements in the dictionary, right? It is very similar to sorted list. right? The two classes have similar object model and both are the same retrieval, where two classes differ in memory use and the speed of insertion and removal, right? So basically what you need to, what it means now, if you are doing some kind of a searching functionality, right? If you are retrieving the element from the collection, if whether you use the sorted dictionary or whether you use the sorted list, right? In both the case, the time complexity is going to be bigger of log n, right? They are going to take the same time, right? But where they are differ, right? In the case of insertion and removal, right? If you are trying to insert one element or if you are trying to remove some element, then in that case, they are going to be different, right? How they are going to be different? Now, see, sorted list uses less memory than sorted dictionary. Sorted list uses less memory than sorted dictionary. And why it is going to take less memory than sorted dictionary? Now, because in the case of a sorted dictionary, a hash table come into the picture, right? The hash table come into the picture means, say, in the case of a sorted list, there is no hash table directly on the collection the data. Okay, to make you understand, what I can tell you is, suppose I'm using this sorted list, right? Sorted list, so in this case the key and value is going to be here, right? Key and value is going to be stored directly here, right? So key value like this, it is going to store. But in the case of a sorted dictionary, right, the key value is there, right? The key value is there. Even some hash table is also there. Hash table, hash code, right? Hash code is there, and this hash code will some integer like data, right? And it will point to the key. There should be some row ID. It will point to the actual data, right? Actual data of sorted dictionary, right? So this hash table means it's an additional table. This hash table concept is not available inside this sorted list. As this is a hash table means it is going to take some memory or not. So data is as it is, right? Here you are storing the data, here also you are storing the data. But in this case, this is additional. As it is additional, so it is going to take more memory, right? Sorted list uses less memory than sorted dictionary because of the additional hash table, right? The sorted dictionary has faster insertion and removal operation for unsorted data, right? So in this case, right, in this case, what will happen? Now it is faster removal and faster insertion, right? Why? Now suppose you want to remove some data. So by using this hash table, you can directly go to that place and you can remove the data. If you want to remove the data, then based on this in hash values, right, it will store the data in its appropriate position because it's an integer number, right? So you can see sorted dictionary has faster insertion and removal operation for unsorted data, right? If the data is unsorted, right? If the data is unsorted, then this is good. This is good means because of this hash table, it can easily go to the sorted dictionary and store the data and remove the data. But if the collection is populated all at once from sorted data, then a sorted list is faster. Why? Because see, if you are going to populate the sorted list only once, and if the data are in sorted order, then it is always better to use this one. Why? Anybody tell me why? Guys,
Yes, sir.
It will directly operate with the actual data, not hash code.
exactly. Because if you are not going to remove and you are not going to perform addition and removal operation later, if later, then it is going to take more time, right? It is going to take more time. But if you are doing the addition, if you are adding the element at only once, and if the data are in sorted order, then you should go with sorted list. But if you are storing some unsorted data, and later on, if you are going to perform some kind of addition and removal operation, then you should go with the sorted dictionary. Clear? See, if data are sorted and adding only once, right? If data are sorted and adding only once, then you should go with sorted list. And if data are not sorted, right? If data are not sorted and adding and not sorted, and if you want to perform addition and removal operation later on, then you need to go with the sorted dictionary. Clear? Right? So if you are if you suppose if this is only your requirement, I have to only create this collection. Later I'm not going to do any kind of addition to this collection. Later I'm not going to remove the element from the collection. And if I'm going to store the data, right, in a sorted order, right, so in this case like this 1 2 3 and 4, then it is better to use sorted dictionary. Sorry, it is better to use sorted list, right? So it is better to use sorted list, right? So sorted list means the data is in sorted order and you are only creating this, adding the data at the time of its creation. Later on, you do not want to remove any element from this collection. Later on, you do not want to add any elements to this collection. Why? Because later on, if you want to add, so it is going to be check each and every element that is available in the collection, right? It will comparing with each and everyone, and then it is going to store the data, right? But if later on, if you are adding using sorted dictionary, then it is not going to check each and every element of this collection. It is only going to store the data, right, uh, inside this hash table collection, right? The data is going to be stored inside this sorted dictionary, and the data, right, the key, the sorted key is going to be stored inside this collection, right? So you should use this sorted list when you are adding sorted data and only once. And later on, if you are not interested in any kind of addition and removal operation, then you need to go with the sorted list. And if you are adding, if the data is not sorted, and if you want to perform addition and removal operation later on, then you need to go with the sorted dictionary. Clear? Right? So dictionary means when you need to use dictionary if data are not sorted, right? And if you want to perform, if data are not sorted, and if you want to perform addition and removal operation later on, and this is going to be data is ordered, right? So this is sorted dictionary. Okay, sorry. This is going to be sorted dictionary, right? Data is ordered. Clear? And what is a dictionary? Can anybody tell me? Data is in not in data is on order, right? Clear? Or any question from anyone related to these 5 classes? See, if you want to store on order data and if you want to allow duplicate data, then you need to go with the list. If you want data to be on order, but if you do not want to allow, or if you do not want to store duplicate elements, then you need to go with the HashSet. If you want the data in ascending order, right, and if you want, if you do not want to allow duplicate data, then you need to go with the sorted set. If you want to store the data in any order, then you need to go with the dictionary. If you want to store the data, I mean key value pair data in sorted order, you have 2 options. One is sorted dictionary, one is sorted list. And when to use sorted dictionary means if we, sorted dictionary means if the data what you are storing, right, they are random order, and if you want to perform addition and removal operation later on, then you need to go with sorted dictionary. And if the data what you are storing the data in is already in sorted order, and if you are only adding the data at only one time, and later on you do not want to perform any kind of addition and removal operation, right, then you need to go with the sorted list. Clear? Guys?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right, so this is the summary point. Let me put this here, right? So you can refer to this. So few small concepts are remaining in our generic collection. That is what we are going to discuss tomorrow, right? And then from day after tomorrow, we are going to discuss our concurrent collections. And that concurrent collection will take 2 classes. And after 2 classes, so mostly in the next 3 days, we are going to complete our collection framework. Clear? Now you should have a very good understanding. You should understand, you should decide when to use what collection. Why I'm giving this more focus? Because people what they are using, if you are working with real-time application, and then you will see that they are only working with this list. They are only working with this dictionary. But apart from list and this, we are also having HashSet. We are also having sorted set, right? We are also having sorted dictionary. We are also having this sorted list. So whatever these 3 are doing, right, they are storing the data directly, and in these 3 are basically going to store the data in the form of key and the value pair. Clear? And two more collection classes we have also discussed. One is what is stack of T. Stack of T means LIFO principle. If you want to store the data in LIFO, then you need to use stack of T, and if you want the data in FIFO principle, then you have to use Q of T. Clear? Any questions? So we have discussed 4 for 8 collection classes. You should have very good understanding what are all these. And guys, do practices, right? And do practices, otherwise he will not get any clarity, right? You should have whatever we are explaining, you should do practices again and again. Clear? Any question from anyone?
No question.
Okay. Anyone else having any question, doubts?
No.
Sir, actually, one question. Like suppose in .NET real-time applications, we store our unique data as GUID. Uh, so
Yes.
in that case, is it advisable to use a dictionary or list? I mean, like you have told the difference.
First of
Key,
all, see, okay. First of all, you just tell me what is GUID.
it's a uniquely generated ID which can from the system.
Yes, it is uniquely generated ID from the system. Then what is the requirement of storing this data in a collection? Can you just elaborate?
It's a form of like a key to identify uniqueness of the record.
It is a unique ID to identify the uniqueness of a record, right? So if it is going to be unique, right, then it is going to be unique. That is fine. And if you want to store the data in the form of a key value pair, and if you want to make sure this is going to be my key, right, it is going to be my key, then you have to go with these 3 options. Now it is your right. Now you need to make sure, okay, this is this GUID, it's going to be a 32-bit or something like string values, right? If you run this application, and I think I have shown you the use of GUID in one of the example, right? So this is going to be a string, alphanumeric string like this, right? Now you just tell me, by looking at this string value, what you will understand.
Yeah, we normally don't get like those values, or we cannot remember.
Right. So what is the use? So if you are using some key value pair, means the key you have to remember, and by using the key you can get the values, right? So basically, why we are using this unique ID to make sure that our data is going to be stored in the database having the unique value, right? But there is no link related this data to with our key values, right? Whenever we are using key value pair, means we have to remember the key, and later on, if you want to paste the data, then by using that key, we should paste the data, right? So basically, to uniquely identify a record, right, we are using this unique ID, right?
Okay.
Right.
So
So
we can store like these type of data in list also, list or sorted list, whatever, which
see,
contains
I'm
normal values.
telling you now, I'm telling you again and again. So list means there should not be any kind of a key. If you are using list, HashSet or sorted set, there is no key concept. But if you are going with the dictionary or sorted list, there is key concept. Now you have to decide how you are going to store the data. You are going to store the data in the form of a key value pair or directly, right? So what is your the requirement? I understand is, suppose I am going to store one employee data into the employee database table, right? And I want to make sure that the employee ID is going to be my or one unique value, and that ID I can generate by using this new ID, right? That is going to be stored in the database. But in that case, no need to go with any kind of a collection, right? So collection means we are multiple data, right? And I never found using this new or GUID, that new ID, to generate a collection, right? What I understand is, suppose one of the real-time use cases of this GUID is, suppose you want to track which user, right? Whenever a request come, what are the log available on my log file? And if I want to make sure for a particular request, I want to find out the log information, then I can make use of this GUID. Or even suppose I am going to store some data into the database, right? Then in that case, for the uniqueness of any column, I can create the GUID and I can store that unique ID into the database, right?
Yes, yes. Like mainly that will be used like in a CRUD operation. Suppose we are updating
Not
huge
only,
number of data with the help of.
see, not only CRUD operation, but even I have shown you the logging examples, guys. If you remember, in the case of method overloading, right? Okay, let me open the method overloading concept, and I think you guys are forgetting everything. So there should be some concept called a method overloading. This is operator overloading. I have already shown you the example of a GUID, but I don't know whether you do practices or not. So in this case, I'm using some unique ID. Where is that? See, suppose I want to log the data, right? Suppose when this is your application, and this method going to hit again and again, right? And whenever you can say I'm going to store the data, right? I'm passing this unique ID. Right here, I'm passing that unique ID. Here, I'm using the same unique ID, right? So basically, this unique ID, you can consider it's a GUID, right? So suppose one request come, right? For that request, I'm going to store the unique ID. So whatever log information, right? I can store using this, right? So this is class name, this is log, right? So two log information in the database for the same unique ID means this for this particular requested to log information in the log file. So you can have a look on the log and you can figure out what is wrong and what is right. Right, so this is one example. And even if you want to store the GUID as a unique value in your database, then you can also do this. Right, if you are using entity framework or if you are using edio.net, and if you are not generating the unique ID in the database, right, see, in the database also you can generate the unique values, right? If you are making the primary key, then you can provide the auto increment functionality is there, right? That is also going to increment the value automatically. Even you can also generate the string value automatically. But if you are not interested in that, but if you are interested in your code, and if you want to generate the unique ID and while storing the data, you can also put that unique ID, and that unique ID is going to be stored in the database. Right, but CRUD operation means what? There are 4 operations: create, insert, update, and delete. And while creating the data, you can use that GUID. But while retrieving the data, what is the use of that GUID? Not required, right? So you cannot say that I'm using this GUID for doing the CRUD operation, right? Only in the case of a insert operation or update operation, you can make use of this unique ID, right? Right.
Yes, sir.
Right, so this basically going to generate a unique value, right? GUID means it is going to generate a unique value. Now it is up to you what you want to do with that unique value, whether you want to make that unique value as the key of your dictionary, or whether you want to make that unique value as the primary key of your database table, right? Or if you want to make sure for each request, if you want to generate a unique value, then you can also use this GUID, right? So basically, there are multiple use cases of this GUID. GUID means it is going to generate a unique ID each and every time you execute or you call this a new GUID method. And you, whatever operation you want, see, it's just like a string value. And once you have a string value, then whatever thing you want, you can do with that string value. You want to make that string value as the key of your collection, you can make it, no issue. You want to make that unique or unique ID or string value as the key column of your database, you can use it, right? Bhargav, you understand?
Yes, sir. Because the application that I'm working on, it is, we don't have any control over the to generate it. It is automatically generating the GUID at the backend, and it is storing the primary key as GUID only. So
Exactly, that is what I'm saying now.
like if we write,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
exactly. So
if we want to do any operations, like we have to follow.
exactly. So GUID, it is not specific to any index, key collection, all these things. So it's basically going to generate a unique value each time this statement executes. You will never get the same value twice. Always you execute, you will get a different value, right? But guys, remember, don't try to use this as a primary key on your database. Why? It will degrade your application performance, right? The primary key should be integer type. It should not be string type. Why? Because if you are making string type, then it will take lots of space, and for each character it might be take some bytes. And for integer, you should make use of integer, because if you are using integer indexing now, then it will give you better performance than the string indexing, right? So why I'm saying this now, because the current project on which I'm working, they are also you making use of this GUID concept to generate the unique ID, right? And the performance killing the application, right? So there is some performance improvement. Suppose you want to become a database, right? So if you want to become a good database a developer, right? So you should know what is SQL Server in detail, right? In my if you visit my site, then I'm providing many options how you can improve your application performance, right? So just go through the documentation, right? Performance improvement, right? Using unique key, right? Performance improvement. So you have to use covering index, proper column, how create index on a proper column, performance using. So this thing you should know, right? Because blindly deciding the data type, right? It going to kill your application, right? So why now what people are doing now? People are creating the column with the size 100. 100 means it's going to be take how many bytes you can consider, how many bits, right? So so the size varies now. See, if I'm creating some integer size, okay, tell me if I'm creating integer I equals to 100, so it is going to take 4 bytes, right? If I'm going to string str equals to this one, so how many bytes it is going to take? So it is going to take the number of a character into 2 bytes. Yes or no?
Yes.
The number of a character, if there are 32 characters, then multiply by 2 means how many bytes? How many bytes? 64 bytes. So you just think if you are, it is good to use integer or it is good to use these things. Right, so that is the thing, and in the case of so here based on the size, here based on the number of a character you are deciding the size, but in SQL Server it is not based on the character. While creating the table you have to specify the size. Suppose you are specifying the size as 100 means accordingly it will take the size, right? Whether you store 1 element, 2 element or 5 element, no matter, size you have to decide while creating the column. But in this case, if you are making integer means no need to mention the size. Okay, so for example, if you okay, so see, for integer you do not need to specify the size. For envarchar, I mean for string type, you have to specify the size. Here 126 character. Here you can take maximum 400, 4000 character. And each character is going to take 1 byte or 1 byte or 2 bytes. So accordingly, the size is going to be. Even though if you are storing only 2 characters, the size is occupied this one. Even though you are storing only 10 characters, the size for that column is going to be this one. So you should make sure that the primary key should always be going to be of a numeric type. The primary key should not be of varchar or character type, right? So if you are making other characters, right, then the performance is going to be degraded. And if you want to compromise with your performance, then you can make use of this GYD as your primary key, right? So that's it for today. We'll try to complete this generic collection classes tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.